Welcome back to the Hungry Humble Human podcast, where we talk about what it really takes to lead with courage, clarity, and compassion, especially when the path forward feels anything but clear. I'm your host, Cheryl Marchion, and today we're diving into one of the most pressing challenges I'm seeing across nearly every conversation with business owners, executives, and leadership teams. How do we lead well when the world refuses to slow down? In 2025, we're not just talking about change. We're living inside of it. And the pace, it's no longer linear, it's exponential. Economic shifts, AI disruption, hybrid teams, rising costs, global instability, and a workforce that's tired of uncertainty. It's all happening at once. There's no playbook for this, but there is a way through. So let's talk about how we lead, truly lead, through relentless uncertainty. Let me start with something I want every business owner and leader listening today to hear loud and clear. If your team feels slower, foggier, or more hesitant than they used to, it's not just them, and it's not just you. This isn't about laziness or lack of drive. It's about exhaustion, capacity, and the very human toll of living in a prolonged state of alert. What I'm seeing, and what you may be seeing too, is a creeping cost that shows up in some pretty familiar ways. Delays in execution, higher absenteeism or disengagement, a rise in quiet quitting or turnover, burnout that shows up not as collapse, but as creativity going silent. Sound familiar? If you're nodding your head right now, you are not alone. And here's the hard truth. Pushing harder, demanding more, or just hoping things will stabilize soon, it's not a sustainable strategy. What we need instead is a new kind of leadership playbook, one that centers on three things that I want to unpack with you today: clarity, compassion, and capacity. Let's start with clarity. In times of chaos, clarity becomes a stabilizer. It's one of the most underrated leadership tools we have. If your people don't know what the top priorities are, or why decisions are being made, or what's expected of them when the rules keep shifting, they will fill in the gaps. And usually, those gaps are filled with fear or assumption. So as a leader, ask yourself, am I communicating clearly and often? Am I anchoring my team in what really matters right now? Am I pausing long enough to let messages land? Clarity isn't just about what you say. It's about what you repeat, what you prioritize, and what you reinforce through action. Next, let's talk about compassion. Now, I know some people bristle at that word, but compassion isn't coddling. It's not lowering the bar. It's leadership in its most human form. What people feel when they feel seen and supported, especially during hard times, they respond with trust, loyalty, and greater effort. Compassion means checking in before checking on. It means making space for emotion without letting emotion drive the agenda. It's meeting people where they are while still holding the line on what matters. In short, it's the balance between grace and accountability. And I'll be honest, this is one of the biggest mindset shifts I'm helping leaders make today. Because when you lead with compassion, you create the safety people need to take risks, speak up, and contribute their best thinking. And that's what drives innovation. Finally, let's talk about capacity. This one's big. We've been conditioned to think in terms of productivity, output, results. But here's the catch. If you're not taking care of the people producing the results, you're eroding the very foundation you're building on. Capacity isn't just time. It's energy, it's focus, it's mental bandwidth, it's emotional resilience. And if your team is running on empty, if they're overextended, undersupported, or never given space to breathe, You may still get short-term output, but you're sacrificing long-term sustainability. So what builds capacity? Clear expectations and realistic workloads. Time for recovery, yes, even in busy seasons. Permission to pause, to reflect, to think. And leaders who model those behaviors themselves are needed. This isn't about giving people a free pass. It's about recognizing that no one can perform at their best when they're stuck in survival mode. And survival mode is where a lot of your people are right now. So, where do we go from here? If you're leading a team, running a company, or simply trying to stay steady in a time of volatility, here's what I encourage you to do. Start by taking an honest inventory. Where are you operating on autopilot? Where is fear driving decision making? Where can you reintroduce clarity, compassion, and capacity, starting with yourself? Because here's what I know to be true after years of coaching leaders through complexity. The companies that thrive in uncertainty aren't the ones with the flashiest strategies. They're the ones with leaders who are grounded, leaders who build trust, leaders who understand that the greatest asset in any business isn't technology or timing, it's your people. And when you lead like that, you don't just survive disruption, you create the conditions to evolve through it. Final thought before we wrap up. What's one way you can lead more humanely this week without losing your edge? Because being human is the edge. Thank you for spending time with me today on Hungry Humble Human. If this episode helped you rethink how you lead, I'd love for you to share it with a fellow leader, subscribe, or leave a comment. You can also find more tools, reflections, and leadership support at CherylMarksYoung.com. Until next time, stay hungry, stay humble, stay human.